Hi guys, welcome to last weekly wisdom of January. Really interesting one today, based around what happened earlier in the week with someone I spoke to. Bear with me, I'm just going to check that I'm coming through all nice and clear. Hang on. Hopefully I am. Am I coming through? Okay, I think I'm coming through. All nice and clear. Am I coming through? Hi Maria, everyone joining. Can you hear me okay? Someone just give me a quick thumbs up. Hopefully I'm coming through. Okay, so welcome to Weekly Wisdom. Apologies for, hi Margaret, loud and clear, thank you. Apologies for my bang on my head. Don't walk into an open door cupboard. Big bruise along my head, not very good, but anyway. So on Monday, I was involved in an interview with an amazing professor, one of the leading authorities, if not the leading authority on the field of chrono-biology and circadian medicine. And it's part of a cancer conference that's happening this weekend, called the Yes for Life conference, which is kind of the biggest integrative cancer medicine conferences of the year. And we're having a chat about me and him are having a chat as part of that conference on Saturday. So this was kind of like a preliminary chat meeting, kind of mock interview, just to see how it was going to flow and get to know each other. And it was mind-blowing. It was meant to be kind of a formal get to know you structured online meeting, and it turned out just to be this really friendly, kind of jovial, warm discussion between a group of people who just got a real interest and passion for this area. And it was mind-blowingly important, and it was mind-blowingly powerful. And I kind of walked away from that interview with my mind just going boom in terms of the implications and in terms of the significance. And yeah, so much so that I kind of had a notepad full of questions and things to check and things to research. And I thought it would be nice, the last week of the month is always the research wrap up. And I just thought it'd be nice to overview some of the things that were discussed during that and some of the advancements in chronobiology and chronomedicine, because what's so interesting is the way it ties in almost perfectly with Ayurvedic medicine. You've got these concepts, these models, these theories from Ayurveda that go back thousands of years, well before we even knew there was a circadian rhythm, before chronobiology existed, had these theories. And now fast forward to the 21st century, you've got Nobel Prize winning genetic research, not just proving these Ayurvedic concepts, but showing why they're so important. And actually, we're actually going to do a whole series on chrononutrition and chronomedicine later in the year, because it's so powerful. But what I wanted to do today was just talk about some of the points that have really, I suppose, catapulted chronobiology into the mainstream, and some of the things that have the biggest gain for the least effort. So what is chronobiology? Chronobiology is the study of circadian medicine. I'm sure everyone's heard of the circadian rhythm, the 24-hour clock that governs our whole body as a single entity. Every organ, every cell has this inbuilt clock that dictates when it works, how it works, its function. So chronobiology, chronomedicine is the study of how we can tap into that circadian rhythm to support health, to treat disease, to prevent disease, to elevate wellness, based around circadian rhythm and these circadian clocks. And like I said, this won the Nobel Prize in 2017, so the upper echelon of research, which shows how significant this is as a concept. And one of the things I want to talk about today is the impact of waking up at the right time. Okay, waking up at the right time. So in my discussions with Professor Robert on Monday, we were talking about the advancements in chronobiology and the discovery of these clock genes. So we have daytime morning clock genes that come on, as the name suggests, first thing in the morning. And then we have nighttime clock genes that come on in the evening. So the daytime clock genes come on early in the morning, and then they regulate virtually all of the billions of interactions that happen in the body every day from sun up to sundown. So all of the trillions of things that happen, those clock genes control. And then once the sun goes down, those clock genes become kind of switch off, and the nighttime clock genes switch on, and they control our physiology through the night. Okay, so we've got morning clock genes controlling the day, they switch off. Nighttime clock genes controlling the night, and it goes round in a cyclical manner. What does Ayurveda say? Ayurveda says we need to get up at the right time of the day. Okay, we need to wake up at the right time. What's the right time? Ideally before 7, and in the summer closer to 6. Okay, 6 o'clock is always heralded as the optimal time to wake up in Ayurveda to support radical health. Okay, the Ayurvedic rationale for that, so to speak, is that all 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, have a time of the day. Okay, so Vata dosha governs 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning. At 6 in the morning till 10, Kapha dosha reigns. So from 6 in the morning, about 6 to 7 in the morning till 10 in the morning, Kapha dosha is dominant. Kapha is more lethargic, it's slower, it's less energized, it's more inert. So if we get up at 7:30, 8 in the morning, 7:30 to 8 in the morning or later, we're getting up when Kapha dosha is dominant. So we're naturally going to be, have the qualities of Kapha, which is going to be tiredness, fatigue, sluggishness, kind of inertia. Whereas if we get up a little bit earlier, even half an hour earlier, and we get up at about 6:37, we're getting up with Vata. We're getting up with Vata. We're getting up when Vata is dominant in our physiology. What's Vata? Vata's energizing, Vata's animating, Vata's stimulating, Vata's enlivening. So if we get up at that time of the day, we're getting up when the physiology of the body is enlivened. So we get up brighter, bushier tailed, we're more vital, we're more energized. That's a foundational model, a foundational construct of Ayurveda. You get up at the right time of the day. Well begun is half done. If you start the day right, if you get up at the right time, it means your physiology is on point. It means you're going to eat at the right time, which means you're going to digest properly, which means you're going to extract more nutrients from the food. It means your organs are working in the right time frames. So that morning period, although it sounds insignificant, is kind of the Vedic linchpin for radical health all the way over the next 24 hours. Because if you get up at the right time, you're going to be tired by the right time, which means you're going to go to bed earlier. Okay, and that's something that I have tried to live by and teach, and everyone we work with, whether in groups or patients or courses or whatever, is the importance of kind of rising early. Okay, and even there's been studies done looking at people with chronic fatigue syndrome, and if you get them up earlier and you get them to bed earlier, within about 3 to 6 weeks, their levels of energy usually exceed anything they've experienced in the previous 5 years. Okay, I don't want to go into that too much, but what I want to do is then, I guess, marry that up with what we were talking about on Monday with the professor, this leading professor of chronobiology, and some of the advancements in chronobiology. And what's one of the most powerful advancements in the Western study of chronobiology? And for everyone joining us, I haven't been mugged. I just walked into a cupboard door, if you're wondering why my face is all battered and bruised. So what are the advancements in chronobiology? It's the discovery of the importance of early morning sunlight. Okay, and this is what made my mind bend. This is what really kind of all day Monday after that interview, my mind was kind of just going off on tangents. So the Western advancements in chronobiology are focusing on the optic nerves. Okay, and when the early morning sunlight, the sunrise, the first kind of hour after sunrise, the quality of that light and the way it connects with the optic nerve and the stimulatory effect that has upon the brain and the nervous system and therefore the rest of the body. And it's that, we evolved, again, going back to the Paleolithic health plan. If you watch that, you'll know we talk a lot about the Paleolithic genome. We'll think about how we evolved. It wasn't until we invented the light bulb or we lived in houses, we got up with the sun, we went to bed with the sun. You look at every indigenous culture in the world, South America, Africa, Australasia, Asia, if they're an indigenous culture who are living a traditional lifestyle, it's an animalistic routine. They wake up when the sun comes up, they go to bed close to it getting dark, the sun going down. What does that mean? If you wake up with the sunrise, or you're awake as the sun is rising, or the hour after it, it means by default your eyes are open. If your eyes are open, it means your optic nerve is connecting with that quality of light in that first hour, and everyone's aware of that. There's a very different quality, isn't there, to the light, the atmosphere, the environment in that kind of hour after sunrise. There's a quality to the light. Obviously it's beautiful. Sunrise is famous for that reason, but it's more than just being aesthetically or artistically beautiful. That light, the quality of that sunlight, stimulates the optic nerve to stimulate the brain to tell the body the day is beginning, the day starting. Okay, this is the start of a new day. So that means the daytime genes need to be activated. Our metabolism needs to be stimulated. Our immune system needs to be activated. Our cortisol needs to be mobilized. Our melatonin needs to be suppressed. It physiologically catapults us into daytime mode, activity, doing, achieving, thinking, planning, eating. It's an active stage, but it's the quality of that first hour from sunrise for the next hour that is the stimulatory mechanism. Okay, and if we're tapping into that, it means that our clock genes, our daytime clock genes, are going to be working perfectly over the next 12-hour cycle. Okay, and again, the first thing I thought when I heard that in this interview was, what does the yogic and Vedic and Ayurvedic sciences talk about early morning sunlight? What do the texts say? The texts say that the first hour, or the hour before and the hour after, is something called Brahma Mutra, which is a quality that is saturated with the divine, or saturated with spiritual quality, or saturated with prana. So when our eyes connect with the sunrise and that quality of light, it saturates the body with prana, chi, energy, vitality, which makes us feel the best versions of ourselves, physically, emotionally, immunologically. It animates and energizes us. So you've got, on the one hand, the Western chrono-biology genetic research saying that when we wake up roughly around sunrise or the hour after it, and the sun, that special quality of light connects with our eyes, it transforms our genes to make us healthy. Ayurveda is saying, well, exactly the same thing. If we get up with the sunrise, we're becoming saturated with the prana, the energy, the kind of this divine quality of the energy of sunrise. It's one and the same thing. And I find the significance of that almost profound, because it's saying it's supporting this need to live in a way that is in accordance with our evolutionary pedigree, which is to wake with the sun and go to bed with the sun. And then what happens, taking that research even further, then what happens? The second advancement in chronobiology that I want to talk about is this idea that they now know that the circadian clock, the circadian rhythm, isn't a global thing. It's not just something that the whole body has, and it's not just the brain that has it or the brain that controls it. They've now shown that every cell in the body, every cell, all 40, 50, 60 trillion cells in the body have their own circadian clock, which is activated by that morning pattern. So if the morning pattern is hit, like we've just spoken about, every cell in the body, every organ system in the body, the cells within that system are going to be working optimally because the circadian clock has been activated at the right time in the right way. What does that do? It means liver function is optimal. Our heart is optimal. Our kidneys, every organ in the body, the cells making it up are working in a balanced, strong, optimized way, which means we experience a radical increase in health, which for me explains why if we're working with someone in clinic and doesn't know what we're working on, if in the course of the discussion it turns out they're getting up late, eating at the wrong times, having dinner late, going to bed late, it doesn't matter what ailments we're trying to manage, the first priority before using prescriptions or herbal medicines or anything is to get their routine right. And when you get their routine right, what you often see is that their energy, their vitality improves. And this explains why. It's because all of the cells in the body are suddenly being dragged from a place of imbalance to a place of being in a state of balance. And suddenly vitality goes up. And in terms of disease prevention, which is what this professor is involved in, is profound. Because what is disease? It's dis-ease, it's disharmony. Being diseased, being sick. What happens? It's where the cells of your liver or your heart or your brain or whatever become dysfunctional. If you've got Parkinson's, it's because the cells in your substantia nigra in your brain are dying or damaged. If you've got liver failure, it's because the cells in your liver aren't working properly. If you're neutropenic, it's because your immune cells aren't working properly. It's a cellular problem. So if cells becoming dysfunctional is the root cause of illness, anything that reprograms cells to live in a higher state of balance, it has to be paradigm changing in terms of not getting sick. And here I'm talking about things like Alzheimer's. The implications in cancer prevention and cancer management are off the chart. The interview that I was involved with on Monday was primarily cancer specific, and it's paradigm changing. It's so paradigm changing. Like it's almost impossible to do justice to the significance of it in terms of how we can use chrono-biology to prevent cancers, to treat cancers. Because cancer, lots of cancer cells also have a clock, an inner clock, a circadian clock. So if you're working against that cancer cell's clock, you're going to make life very hard for the cancer cell to do what it wants. And that's a whole other topic. But the big takeaway is that if we're living in a way that allows our genes to control our cells and organs to be in a place of optimal balance, then we are unequivocally going to experience a higher level of health and vitality and energy, both our mind and our body. If we're missing that window, if we're missing that early morning stimulation, then before the day's even begun, we're playing catch up. Before the day's even begun, we're on the back burner. Okay, so I think, and I know I've spoken about this in different courses and different guises and whatnot, the optimal daily routine. Within Ayurveda, there's this optimal daily routine. There's a very detailed overview of it in the Swastha series, and I'll post a link up in the comments below in case you can't find that. But the bottom line is that Ayurveda, a key tenet of Ayurveda is that radical health, radical vitality, longevity, disease prevention, the catalyst for it is our daily routine, and the catalyst for that is when we wake. Okay, Western chronobiology is saying that if we're getting up and our eyes are connecting with that sunrise light, that's the genetic catalyst for making sure the whole balance, the whole physiology of the body is optimized. They're saying the same thing, just through a different way. And I've always thought it was integral, and I've known it to be integral, but when you see that kind of modern genetic-based research validating it, it takes it to another level. Okay, so in terms of practical ramifications, what does that mean? It means that, yes, and someone's posted there, Tracy, hi Tracy, my mind is making so many connections with this. Yeah, that was what I found. Suddenly all these things start joining up. What if the sun rises earlier in summer and later as is now? Exactly that. So we have to follow the natural world. What does any other diurnal mammal do in outside of the tropics? They've studied this with snow leopards, with brown bears, with squirrels. They've studied it with so many mammals. If you look at what happens in the height of summer, mammals sleep less. They get up earlier, they go to bed later. They're more productive. In winter, they get more rest, more rejuvenation, more sleep. They get up later and go to bed later. What dictates the time is the sun. Does that mean you've got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the middle of the summer? No, it doesn't. But we're talking about the optic nerve here. So if sunrise is at 5:15, 5 o'clock in summer, then we've got kind of an hour, which means 6:15. Whereas in summer, sunrise is, what's sunrise now? About 7:20, is it? So we've got from 7, quarter to 7 through to about 7:30, 8. Okay, that's the latest. Now is the latest it will ever be. But somewhere between 6 and 7 pretty much holds the gain 12 months of the year in any country of the world, whether in your tropics where it's 12 hours light, 12 hours dark, whether you're in the northern hemisphere where it varies a lot. 6 to 7 is still the magic number, because if it's 6 a.m, you're going to get the summer kind of equinox light. Whereas if it's winter, you're still going to be tapping into the later start. So in where we are, if you're in Britain or Europe, getting up between 6 and 7 allows us to use that morning sunlight to stimulate the optic nerves and therefore the genes and therefore the physiology of the body. So Margaret, that's another good point. We use a sunlight lamp. Exactly that. That does exactly the same thing. Why? Because that's mirroring sunlight to trick the optic nerve. So that's a brilliant idea. So I think if you're, and at this time of the year where SAD syndrome, seasonal affective disorder, where we can feel a bit flat, a bit physically flat, a bit emotionally flat, a bit lethargic, if you find yourself kind of holing up and getting up later and kind of those kinds of things, which is quite common, this is as counterintuitive as it sounds, this is a good way of antidoting that, getting more dopamine, more serotonin activation going, lifting our moods. It's the antidote to the sluggishness of kapha. So the big takeaway is looking at when you're getting up and trying to make it between 6 and 7 a.m. to really mobilize those genetic profiles. And the other thing as well is eating times. Okay, and I've spoken about this loads, how when we eat is as predictive of the health benefits we get from that food as the food itself. If we're eating great food at the wrong time of the day, it's probably no better than the eating bad food at the right time of the day. What we want is to be eating good food at the right time of the day. And we get the optimal nutrition and the optimal ability to extract the nutrients. So again, breakfast around 7 to 8, 8:30, lunch between about 12 and 2, dinner between about 6 and 7:30. That's where our liver function, our pancreatic enzymes, our hydrochloric acid, the whole digestive system of the body is optimally primed to receive food, digest food, extract nutrients from that food, which is using chrono-biology to support chrono-nutrition and optimal health. If we're missing those eating times, when we put food in, we physically haven't got the software to digest it. We haven't got enough acid, we haven't got enough pancreatic enzymes, we haven't got enough pepsin, we haven't got enough resources to digest the food because we're putting it into the body at a time when we shouldn't be eating. You're having a breakfast at 10:30 in the morning, at lunch at 3:30 and dinner at 9:30. We can't digest food then. So what happens? It putrefies in the gut, it rots, it creates inflammation, it creates immune dysfunction, it creates toxicity, it creates fatigue, it creates inflammation. So, suddenly you can see why getting up is so important, because if you get up at the right time, you're going to eat at the right time. So suddenly it can go from a vicious circle where the whole body is out of sync, and with it comes lethargy and disease and illness, to getting up at the right time and eating at the right time and going to bed at the right time, moves it into a place of balance, and that turns it from a vicious circle into a virtuous circle. Okay. And that, you just preempted me there, Linda, because I was going to say, I really struggle with getting up early. Do you have any suggestions to help move that waking up time? Quite a big point to emphasize, it doesn't have to be getting up. Okay. It's just waking up. Okay, so it might be, so a lot of people we work with, particularly if they're post-cancer treatments, they'll say, I haven't got the energy to get up at 7 in the morning. And a good way around that is you don't have to get up, you just need to have your eyes open. So it might be that get up at, say, you set your alarm for 7:15, which is still early enough now to tap into that sunlight window. But it might be that you go downstairs, make yourself a cup of tea, and you read in bed for half an hour, or you listen to a meditation app or a podcast, so that your eyes are open. So you don't have to kind of get out of bed and get in the shower and get going. you're still awake and your eyes are still open and you're still tapping into the benefits. So when we find people who can't get up a bit earlier, what we say is don't get up, but just try and wake up. Try and wake up and then stay in bed, read or listen to music or anything, just so you're getting that stimulatory effect. So that would kind of be the way I would play that. Okay. There's loads more stuff to tease apart on this, but I was so overwhelmed on Monday listening to this interview and listening to just the way it's the way it kind of marries together this ancient wisdom and this modern science. It just blew my mind, and I just wanted to I guess articulate that and just try and make sure everyone's on board with that. So not a great meditation time. Well, it depends when you're doing it. So if you're getting up on the later end of the spectrum, then it's not great because you've only got a short window. Whereas if you're getting up earlier, it's kind of a great time. So I think, say you get up at 6, you have a cup of tea, you get going and you meditate for half an hour. That you'll be done by 7, quarter to 7, and then as the sun's coming up at 10-15 minutes past 7, like say for me now, like there's quite a big shift in my routine personally in summer and winter. So for me, I always try to get up about, I'm an early bird anyway and always have been, but I usually get up at about 5:30, quarter to 6. I go downstairs, make a cup of tea, drink that, and then meditate for about half an hour. But it's still dark then. It's still dark. So the time that's all finished, it's about, I don't know, quarter to 7, half 6, quarter to 7. And then I get ready and make breakfast and everything else as the sun's coming up. So if you're ahead of the sunrise, it's a perfect time for meditation. If you're after it, then you've got a shorter period of time, a shorter window, if that makes sense. So it's either a very good time for meditation or it's not such a good time, depending upon what you're doing. And if it's later and you're in that hour of sunlight, maybe it's better to do something like an open eyes meditation or a candle light meditation or something like a yogic practice with your eyes open. So you're stimulating the optic nerve with that light. Okay. Linda, that is achievable. I think for most people that is achievable, thinking about waking up rather than getting up. Okay. So really, really powerful. I've jotted down loads of notes in my book and I definitely want to do a lot more about this. I want to kind of tease this apart with more research because I think there's a really fascinating course or series here. But that'll be later on in the year anyway. So Ruby, check your timings. I mean, it doesn't matter too much. And also remember, you've got an hour window, Ruby, around meditation time. So say sunrise is just as make it easier. Say sunrise was at 7. You've got that enlivening quality of light for an hour. Okay, generally speaking. So if you meditated for half an hour, so say from 7 to 7:30, you've still got half hour after that in terms of tapping into that light. Or if you got up at 7 and then got your stuff ready between 7 and 7:30 and meditated from 7:30 to 8, you've still got half an hour with your eyes open. So you don't get too fixated on the timings because you've got that hour window. So long as you've got your eyes open for a period of time within that hour, whether it's 7 till 8 in winter or whether it's 5 till 6, 6:30 in summer, you don't need the whole hour. You just need a portion of it. Okay, so that would be a good way of tapping into that without having to necessarily get up much earlier. Okay, so hopefully that's answered your question, Ruby. So yeah, really interesting stuff. It's blew my mind. It's really fascinating. So it's important. We want our cells and our organs to be working from such a profoundly strong place. And this is how you do it. So any questions about that, let me know. But other than that, have a lovely day and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.